I had someone message me the other day. They're like, I've been off for 7 days. I'm like, and she's like, I can't take it. And I'm like, well, you don't know what you're in for because it fucking gets way worse. And that's just real shit. Like, you better be fucking prepared. And this is why I don't recommend people just stop taking it. In the first 70, 80 days, I was suicidal legitimately by the hour. Like, I was fighting. The withdrawals were so fucking bad. When I say anxiety, when I say paranoia, when I say depression, you guys, and you think of like the worst you've ever felt in your life, that's how I felt for 80 days straight. And the only way I got through that was by having the structure of the program. Real shit. Because I did 75 hard those first 75 days. Of when I stopped. And I think that's the only way I made it through it.
Well, and I remember there were days that your tasks would be the only thing you would be able to complete.
That was it.
Because
and I got them done, bro. And
I'm getting like kind of tears like thinking about that time because it was so bad.
Yeah. And it was, people don't understand. There's physical symptoms that come from the removal of these drugs. And this is why unless you're mentally prepared to deal with it, you should not just quit. Okay, you need to build your mental fortitude ahead of time and understand what the fuck you're going to do and have a plan to push through it.
Have a support system.
I was just going to say, like,
listen,
if you live alone.
You should be tuning your fucking brain up for a year before you decide to fucking just quit it.
Yeah.
Okay, because you're going to go through some of the worst shit that you're ever going to go through, and there's going to be nothing you can do about it. I lost my balance. I had brain zaps. I had brain fog. I had suicidal fucking fantasies. And anybody who's suffered with depression, you know what I'm talking about, where you get a suicidal thought in your brain and it's obsessive. You cannot stop thinking about it. And these things were at the highest possible level that I've ever experienced during this time. And then after the first 80 days, it did get better. It got better, but it got better slow. And I think up until about a year of being off of it, which was just recently, I was still having withdrawals because I would still have these ups and downs and these ups and downs. And I think within the last 30 to 60 days is really when I started feeling like myself again, where I wasn't having this crazy anxiety. And that's also a big reason why I sort of withdrew from my content and a lot of shit. And like, I just didn't feel good, dude. Yeah. I didn't feel like the bad motherfucker that I had been in the past. And the thing that I recognized about being on Lexapro, like, this is something that like people, like, you don't realize this till you come off of it, but it actually makes you immune to the good things in life too. So it numbs you from the bad shit, but it also makes you not care about the good shit. So you don't really ever have any real emotions. And one of the hardest things was like getting used to having emotions again. Like, I hadn't had them for 11 years. Yeah. So like,
I noticed that at Summer Smash. I think that was the first example because I've been with you for 4 years.
Yeah.
And that was the first time where I was seeing like genuine raw emotion come through that like, I have not seen in situations before.
Well, that's because I was taking their bullshit.
Yeah.
Right. And like, their bullshit's real good at making people not give a fuck about anything. So you don't really care that they're taking all your money or propagating you to be a fat, lazy piece of shit or, dividing everybody, all the stuff we talk about on CTIs every day, right? You don't notice it because you don't care. Mm-hmm. So, I personally, my personal opinion, obviously there's no scientific evidence to this and that I'm aware of. There probably is, but I don't know it. Is that I think the reason they're so quick to put people on that shit is explicitly for control of society. Mm-hmm. I think it's a mind control drug. I think they put you on the drug and I think they understand that you're not going to have the lows, but you're also not going to have the highs. So you care a lot less about everything and you're willing to accept what they do to the population, which is make you struggle financially, make you struggle physically with your health, intentionally poison you with chemicals and things in water, in the air, like in plastic, like all these things that they do to people, you don't give a fuck about when you don't have any emotion.
Right.
So like, and dude, the other thing that like how I was prescribed this was so flippant and so like, it was this. I was in the office and my doctor was like, he's like, how you feeling? And I'm like, well, I don't know. I feel like shit. And he's like, well, it's because you got that business. And I'm like, well, yeah. And he's like, you should sell that business. I'm like, well, I'm not selling the business. And he's like, well, you should just, let me put you on this pill, dude. It'll make you feel better. And like, I was like, all right. I started taking it. Yeah. And that's how I got on. Where there was no,
because that back then you would be able to trust a physician.
Well, look, dude, I don't think that I don't blame him. I just think that's the way it is.
No, like, because you that's what I'm saying.
That's the medical system, bro.
Yeah.
These doctors don't even know what the fuck they're doing. They don't even realize they're taught in an education system that is funded by fucking big pharma.
Right.
They don't know what the fuck they're doing. That's just what you do when you're a doctor.
The studies they read.
Right, exactly.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But 11 years ago, we didn't, there's been so much that came out since COVID and everything where we're all more of like,
skeptical.
Wait, let me look. We're way more skeptical. But back then, 11 years ago, if you're a doctor, you would naturally assume that they knew why they were doing this. They had your best interest at heart. Not that, hey, take this pill.
Listen,
and
I know for sure. Listen, this is not shit talking because my doctor at that time, he's not my doctor anymore, was one of my best friend's dads.
Right.
And he's still a fucking great friend of mine. And I still know that he would, like if I called this dude, I say, hey man, I need to bury a fucking body, motherfucker would show up.
Right.
He didn't do it to hurt me.
Right.
It's just what they do.
Mm-hmm. But back to your emotions, I think that's one thing that I noticed the most too, is like, I remember you even saying we were out at the farm riding the side-by-side and you looked at me and you're like, I don't know why I feel like this, because you weren't used to having like emotions and you were showing emotion again. But as your wife, what was cool for me to see is that you were way more engaged in what was happening around you. It wasn't just like, not that you were like zoned out before, but it's like you actually could tell you were like really listening to every single person that was around and you were way more engaged at events.
That was hard though.
Yeah.
Like that shit's hard. Like when you don't have any emotions for fucking a decade and all of a sudden you're like listening to people, like, dude, like for real, this is real shit. Okay. People come up to me all the time and like I'm somewhat well known. Like when I go in public, people recognize me. And it's not like a athlete recognize. Like when you see an athlete, people want to get a picture with the athlete, right? Or you see like The Rock, you're like, oh, I saw The Rock. I took a picture with him. With me, it's different because of the nature of my content. Mm-hmm. All right. So with me, because I put out personal development so long at a high level that there's lots of people out here who have actually benefited from that content. And when they see me, they want to tell me their story. And when they tell me their story, it's always a good story. But to get to the good part, they got to tell you the worst part. Right. All right. And the worst part is, I had a fucking gun in my mouth, or my fucking wife, died of cancer, or my husband, it's always these severe, like hardship stories. And they're telling you these stories, but they're telling you these stories so that they can tell you how they overcame these stories, and which I appreciate, right? But like, dude, let me tell you something. Like when you stand in a meet and greet line for 9 fucking hours and you hear 1,000 fucking stories like that, bro, it will crush your soul. Mm-hmm. People don't understand that. And so when I was on the fucking medicine, when I was on the pills, I was able to meet these people and hear their story, and it didn't really fuck with me too bad because like I wasn't feeling nothing. I was like, it wasn't like I was detached, but I was detached. Like I was like, man, that's horrible. Like that's, I didn't feel it. Yeah. Okay. But what I've noticed now, and this is also why I can't do a lot of these meet and greet type things anymore, is that like, dude, the shit really affects me. So like when someone is fucking standing in front of me or telling me one of these stories, now it like fucks me up. Mm-hmm. Right. And that's one of the biggest things that I realize. And a lot of people say, oh, that's a great thing. Yeah, it is, except for when you have to do it 1,000 times in a row.
Yeah.
If it was just 2 or 3 times.
Well, it's carrying a heavy load.
No, dude, listen, dude. People don't understand, and this is not disrespectful because I'm very appreciative of the fan base and the following. Dude, this is not disrespect. But what's happening to me in those times is I'm getting every single person's worst fucking story emotionally dumped on me. Mm-hmm. And in an action of gratitude, right? Mm-hmm. And so like, but that shit still fucks you up. And so, and that happens to me every day. It happens to me in my DMs. It happens to me in my conversations with people. Like
phone calls.
I can't escape it. Right. Like, and it's really fucking difficult to manage. And people think, because I kind of withdraw myself from a lot of situations, dude, I'm just protecting my fucking energy.
Yeah.
Like I can't fucking be dumped on like that and operate my life. Like I'm not a fucking professional dumpster. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm sorry you're having a problem. I've dedicated a big part of my life to giving free content to help you. Help yourself.
Right.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And so I don't know where I was going with that, but the point is that like I started feeling those things, and feeling things that I hadn't felt in so many years made me realize how bad that shit was for me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because I know people personally that are on the quarter of the amount of dose that you were on, and they've tried to get off several times. Like, I can't deal with the withdrawals. Like, and they say like, I don't know how the fuck you did this. And I was like, and I tell them like, it's through the discipline. You've got to have a structure to it. And I think that's the way
I just decided I was fucking done.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm done.
Yeah. And I know there's people that you and I both know mutually that have followed your lead on that to get off of that. And they feel, they say the same thing. It's like, even though they were on a very, very low dose, they're like, I wanted to kill myself every day. Like, even just the smallest amount you can get, it's what this drug is doing.
People don't understand that, dude.
Yeah.
Like, because victimization has become popular in society, and when people, you know, now, and unfortunately, you know, people talking about killing themselves in public has become almost like a virtue signal. All right. People, I think a lot of people are desensitized to the real feelings of that, like what we're really talking about. Like, when you're talking about suicidal thoughts, you're not there yet, bro, until you're planning it. And you're like, how do I do this with nobody finding out? Or how do I do this with minimal disruption? Or how do I do this so Emily doesn't have to clean up my brains on the fucking floor? Like, that's when you start to that's when you're in that place. Okay. When your pistol is in your nightstand and all you can think about is pulling it out of your nightstand and fucking blowing your brains out every single fucking other minute, you're starting to have, and it doesn't sound bad. Like, it doesn't sound like, oh, I'm scared of this. It sounds like, damn, dude, I just kind of want to do this. Like, it's a different thing. And like, because society has become so soft, and I'm not sitting here saying you're valid or not valid, or I don't give a fuck. What I'm saying is victim culture has become this thing on social media where everybody who's having a hard time talks about wanting to end their life, or I almost wanted to kill myself one time. Dude, people shouldn't say those things unless it's actually true, because it waters down and you can't identify who's actually struggling anymore.
Yeah.
And so there's levels to like life, and sometimes life is just fucking hard. But when I explain suicidal fantasies and tendencies, that's what I'm talking about.
But what about the glamorization of pharmaceuticals? Because that's kind of, I feel like that's also a huge crutch in society. It's not just the victimhood, but it's the glamorization of the wine mom brunchers and, hey, let's pop a Xanax and go to this. And it's like, it's, you know, and I've seen designers come out with, you know, like Adderall, like fancy rhinestone Adderall.
Yeah, it becomes a part of their identity.
Yeah, and like these, you know, wine ones like, oh, I'm taking, kids are out of summer, you know, I'm be taking a Xanax bar every day. It's like they try to make it trendy.
Well, other drugs are like that too.
I know.
I mean, other people, you know, they do that with weed. You know, they make it part of their identity.
You do it with alcohol.
You do it right.
I know, but
I've done those things.
Pharmaceutical aspect of it, though. That's what I think about. You know what I mean? It's like
it's tribe behavior.
Yeah, it's just. I don't know,
it's dangerous.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.